I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
The harder I want to hit you.
I'm happy because of being here today. Fuck you.
Come on, you want me to drive? You're supposed to be suicidal, remember? I'll
anybody
drive.
to drive?
Let's get in the car.
Fucking shit. Fuck me in the fucking ass. Fuck you, you fucking stupid cunt.
Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I'm here with a brand new movie review. And this review is going to be for the 1997 sci-fi film The Fifth Element, directed by Luc Besson. So what is the plot of The Fifth Element? Well, it's in the 23rd century and the universe gets threatened by evil, and the only hope for mankind is the Fifth Element, which comes to Earth every 5,000 years to protect humans with stones of the four elements: fire, water, earth, and air. A mono-shot spacecraft brings the Fifth Element back to Earth, but it gets destroyed by the evil Mangalores. But a team of scientists that use the DNA of the remains of the Fifth Element to rebuild a perfect being called Lilu. She escapes though from the laboratory. Someone spawned as taxi driver, played by Bruce Willis, and Formula Light Commando Major Corbin Dallas, who helps her to escape from the police. Lilu tells them that she must meet Father Vito Cornelius to accomplish her mission. Meanwhile, though, the evil uses the gritty and cruel Jean-Baptiste Emmanuel Zorg, played by Gary Oldman, and a team of mercenary Mangalores to retrieve the stones and avoid the protection of Lilu. But the skilled Corbin Dallas has fallen in love with Lilu and decided to help her retrieve the stones. So, as for my reaction, I have seen this movie countless times, but I still hadn't even reviewed it yet. But eventually, on my review for Leon the Professional, one YouTuber commented to me that he wanted me to review this film at some point, so I would when I had the time. And that time is finally now. Because, this is a movie I've seen countless times. I easily regard it as yet another Luc Besson masterpiece. It's easily his second best movie behind Leon, and it's easily one of Bruce Willis's best films. When this first came out in the domestic markets, it wasn't as recognized, but it was recognized among foreign and overseas. Nowadays, it's often regarded as a sci-fi gem by many moviegoers, and for plenty of good reasons. So, how was The Fifth Element made? Well, Luc Besson, the director of the movie, started writing a story that was developed as The Fifth Element when he was 16 years old. And he was 38, though, when the film opened in cinemas. Luc Besson wanted to shoot the film in France, but facilities could not be found in France, so filming took place in London, Mauritania instead. He hired some comic artists like Jean Mobius Giraud and Jean-Claude Mazaliers, whose books had inspired parts of the film, and for production designer, and costume designer was by Jean-Paul Gaultier. And so after The Fifth Element was officially shot and advertised, The Fifth Element had received positive reviews, but there were some critics that also were negative. It won in categories in the British Academy Film Awards, the Caesar Awards, the Cannes Film Festival, Lumiere Awards, but it got nominations at the Razzies and Stinker's Bad Movie Awards. Stinker's Bad Movie Awards, by the way, guys, is no longer around. That award season died in 2006. The Fifth Element, though, at the box office was a strong financial success because it earned more than $263 million worldwide on a budget of $90 million. And of course, at the time of its release, it was the most expensive European film ever made, and was the highest-grossing French film in the international box office until The Untouchables. Now let's get on with the good qualities and the story of The Fifth Element and what makes The Fifth Element so unique. So, around the time this had come out, many folks were likely expecting another Star Wars, and some were disappointed because that's the thing. It looks like it would be another Star Wars, but it's not like Star Wars. It's more like a live-action comic book. It's visually stunning, it's awesome use of color that really jumps out at you, it's non-stop action, it's all done with tongue firmly and chic, and the plot may be kind of a weak point, but so who knows, comic books have to have strong plots all the time. They never do. Willis Jovovich, and the rest do a cast do a fine job, and I did like the casting of Jovovich as Lilu in this, and like Lilu excludes innocence, vulnerability, exotica, intelligence, and kung fu all at the same time. And sadly though, would eventually go on to play in those awful Resident Evil films. Like, before she got casted in that awful series, well, the first and the third films are tolerable. I can watch the first and the third films. The third one has some nice action sequences, hence why I can watch that one. Apocalypse, as flawed as Apocalypse is, even that, if I had to pick which one I'd rather be forced to watch, that or any of the stuff after Extinction, I would have to say Apocalypse, because while I don't really like Apocalypse, that film, in comparison to the stuff that comes after Extinction, like Afterlife or Retribution or The Final Fucking Blow, one of the worst final installments of any franchise ever. Yeah, the final piece of shit to that franchise from 2017. That film was more, even Apocalypse was more watchable compared to either of those. Afterlife was where it got worse. Thanks, this film was before that Shift franchise happened. And the sci-fi fantasy has a lot of ingredients that are great, and it's a wonderful concept, and Luc Besson directs who had directed like Leon the Professional before this, and La Femme Nikita before that film, reunites the second time with Gary Oldman, and plays yet another dastardly, hilariously entertaining villain. Here, The Fifth Element is really imaginative and enjoyable, and I really adore the concept and the story with the lack of flow that really never really fails to not intrigue me a lot, and the script and satire are very fun and slick, and the visuals are very breathtaking, especially from like the amazing little Big Apple effects, and of course like the counter to the resort planet paradise near the climax of the film, and plenty of thrills and imagination atmosphere to be had. And the fifth element really immerses its atmosphere from the first minutes, and the viewer's almost not immersed in ENT of the world, and it works. It's possible like with Luc Besson, because the thing is though, like when Luc Besson made this film, by the time this film had reached its 20-year anniversary, he tried to do this kind of film again with Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets, but that film just really sucked as well, and it did not work. That was basically a lifeless version of this movie, just without any of the stuff why this movie was good. So how do we start the story of the film? Well, we start off in 1914 with these aliens called the Mondo Shawans. They meet their contact on Earth as priests of a secret order at an ancient Egyptian temple. They take the only weapon that's capable of defeating a great evil that appears every 5,000 years, and they're going to protect it and return it before the great evil's reemergence. The weapon consists of these 4 elements and 4 engraved stones. One of them, though, contains the 5th element. Then we cut to the 23rd century when the film takes place, and the great evil appears in deep space as a giant living fireball. It destroys this armed Earth spaceship as it heads to Earth, and the Mondo Shawans is current human contact on Earth as well, and this priest named Vito Cornelius, played by the late Ian Holm, may he rest in peace, informs the president of the Federated Territories of the great evil's history and the weapon that can stop it. And right there, that's where our film takes off. Before we get on to our protagonists, I'll explore some more things. This film immediately is satisfying on many levels. Like, it's a beautiful movie to watch with regards to color and direction. The tasty like orange combination really lingers in the thoughts of the viewers. There's plenty of action. It's not overloaded action. The futuristic metropolis gets loaded with visual effects that are very excellent, and I have to look hard to point out inconsistencies. But the special effects really stop at like spaceships and scenery, and they do not continue without the making of the alien characters. And there's plethora costumes and makeup, and they really give the movie life. The Fifth Element is like a classic and has a cultural impact on quite a few cinema goers. It has a lot of imaginative ideas that are used in other successful franchises today. It wasn't the only time they did something like this. Like, there was stuff like Ghost in the Shell, there was stuff like Star Wars, or there was stuff like Blade Runner. And later on, 2 years after this, we would have The Matrix by the Wachowski brothers. And of course, the big metropolitan with the insane traffic of flying cars is definitely one of the biggest characters of the film. Like, they really benefit from being made with combination of miniatures and CGI, and they give an artistic and authentic look, and it still holds up well today, compared to a lot of actually awful CGI that actually we get nowadays. And many more iconic shots in the movie. Like, remember when Lilu escapes the facility, and she jumps from the building wall with an overhead view, and she jumps out in the traffic of flying cars, and then lands on Bruce Willis's cab? That's just fantastic, and it's a great shot. Or the scene near the climax where the blue tentacle head opera singer is a masterpiece, and it's a work of art. And it does get over the top later. It starts off as this great work of art, but then it also gets over the top later, and it's still a work of art. Like, there's many other more moments in the film that are definitely iconic. Like now, as much as I'm not too big on Chris Tucker's character, I will admit his introduction when he does the monologue to his radio show is actually pretty well timed, and I wasn't the biggest fan of his character, but I didn't hate his character. I'll just say that. He had plenty of entertaining moments, like in his first scene, or when he's at the opera house. But there's also some times when his comedy kind of needs to be off. Kind of like in the final battle. Or the Flying Street Restaurant and many other scenes and moments, and the movie still does try to get serious at some points, and it carries a sentimental message, and it does not come off as cheesy, and it's actually beautiful. It helps make the entire movie work perfectly. So, this Monoshoan spacecraft is on their way to Earth, and they're carrying the weapon. They get ambushed and destroyed by our evil aliens of the movie, the Mangalores. They're these alien mercenaries that are hired by Earth industrialists. Gary Oldman's villain character, John Baptiste Emmanuel Zorg, who's working for the Great Evil. Then the severed hand and metal armor from the wreckage of the spacecraft gets brought to New York City, and then the government uses biotechnology to recreate the original occupant of the sarcophagus, which comes in a humanoid woman named Lilu, Mila Jovovich's character. She remembers her previous life, but she's alarmed by her unfamiliar surroundings and security, so she escapes and she jumps off a ledge, and crashes into Corbin Dallas, Bruce Willis's protagonist character, flying taxicab. We'd find out that Corbin Dallas was this former major in Earth Special Forces, and he's trying to get this whole license thing, or he'll lose a point on his license. At first he's ordered to surrender Lilu to the cops, and he actually thinks about doing that, but then he sees Lilu's beg for help look. So he decides against it, and he drives off. And meanwhile, like, when they're trying to call for backup, the backup cops are busy ordering McDonald's at this time, and then Corbin passes them and causes their McDonald's to spill all over them. And so Dallas then delivers Lilu to Cornelius and his apprentice David, and they recognize her as the fifth element. So Lilu recuperates, and she tells Cornelius that the stones were not on board the ship, and the Monoshoans inform of government that the stones were trusted to this alien opera singer named Plavagana. So Zorg reneges on his deal with the Mangalores for failing to obtain the stones and kills quite a few of them. So Earth's military sends Dallas to meet Plavagana. Right there. So, like, what we find out is that Dallas had just gotten fired from his job before that, and mugged earlier, and also now, his mom's still trying to contact him, and his cab has been destroyed. Like, he's starting to face a really bad luck right now. And then, of course, meanwhile, as this is all happening, the Earth's military arrives at his apartments, like, around the time that, like, Cornelius and Lilu arrive at his place. And he hides them, and then the military then shows up. They send Dallas to meet Plavagana, and actually, no, the military arrives before Lilu and Cornelius do. And so he hides them in his fridge, like, once those two arrive. And then some police arrive, and he hides Lilu and Cornelius in certain other furniture. But with Lilu's hide spot, he has forgotten about the auto wash, so she comes out, like, shivering cold because the water was obviously cold when it turned on. Like, so, and like, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot the auto wash wasn't off. So then Cornelius knocks out Dallas, and they flee with the pass that he has. But then, of course, though, Dallas still is able to go because, well, the military has still had that pass and are now frozen in the fridge, and like, I'll take that mission, and just leaves them in the fridge. And So once he's at the airport to go meet Plava Laguna, this rigged radio consist then provides this cover, like awarding Dallas a luxury vacation on this flying hotel on the planet, and accompanied by talk show host Chris Tucker's character Ruby Rod. That includes a concert by Plava Laguna, and learns that Lilu shares his mission. So Dallas lets her accompany him, and Cornelius instructs David to prepare the temple. Stowe's wearing a luxury spaceship, and there's quite a few people that are trying to be Corbin Dallas. Right there to get on the plane. Like, at first, David tries to be Corbin Dallas, but then the real Corbin Dallas shows up. These aliens are trying to disguise themselves as Corbin Dallas and Lilu, but their disguises are starting to fade away. One other guy tries that, but the pilot doesn't fall for that, and so he's pretty much backed away. Right there, so the Mangalore crew are also after the stones for themselves and illegally board the ship, and as Lilu and Corbin pretty much enter hypersleep because the ship's about to take off around that time. The film does have much to give. The sets, the effects, the costumes are all wonderful. You have one of the best visions of the future yet. Borrowing ideas from a lot of sci-fi classics. There's brilliant performances from Ullman, Willis, and Jovovich. The film is burst with ideas and imagination, and there's actually plenty of funny moments. Like, the film knows it can't really take itself seriously. Like, a plot like this could never be taken seriously. And the movie kind of has fun with that. And Gary Oldman as Zorg, like, easily another great villain performance from him. Like, this guy had earlier played Norman Stansfield in Leon the Professional before this, and then plays another iconic villain named Zorg. He's monstrously charming, a class-act bad guy, and has many great one-liners that really bring out a giggle from the viewers. Imagine if Blade Runner was set in the daylight. And the way this city breathes is like a dance of swords with like great pacing, and a fantastic soundtrack and energy that complements the outlandish movie well. You believe anything that gets thrown at you and it takes it as the norm. Along with the dynamics of the storyline, like, there's also twists that have yet to be figured out. It makes the movie even more interesting and enjoyable in this like Egyptian-styled science fiction action comedy. The film flies through with the plot and arrives at a climax that's action-packed and shows off all of the European action stuff that made Besson a household name with Nikita and The Professional. So, once Corbin has arrived at Paradise, Corbin is now there to see Plava Laguna's concert. And so we see Plava Laguna on stage, and while this is happening, you get this breathtaking opera sequence with her that starts off very smooth, and then when the Mangalores arrive and attack, and Lilu fights them off with karate skills, then it becomes like over the top as her like opera starts to get much faster and plays over this whole sequence, and even then it still works terrifically well, and it's still a work of art scene. Like, starts off calm, and then it starts off crazy and over the top as like her opera plays over the fight scene. And it actually works well playing over the fight scene. Right there, and but then of course the Mangalores arrive at the theater after that, and they kill Plava Laguna. But Dallas finds out that the stones are inside from her, and she tells Dallas to take the stones out of her body. So he extracts the stones from her body, and he kills the Mangalore leader, and so the other Mangalores surrender. But then Zorg arrives and shoots Lilo and activates a time bomb in the hotel. And when the hotel's being evacuated, he flees with a carrying case that does contain the stones. But then, of course, returns when he discovers, though, it's empty. Then Zorg's bomb is meanwhile causing the evacuation, like I've just mentioned. Dallas sees that Lilo is traumatized and actually escapes with her. And then Cornelius, Raw and the stones in Zorg's private spaceship. And so Zorg deactivates his bomb, but a Mangalore that's dying sets off his own. And the hotel gets destroyed and Zorg is killed in the process. So, in a way, like, Ruby Rod kind of ends up getting dragged onto the whole mission. In a kind of a reluctant kind of little way, like, kind of against his will in a way, because, well, he's trying to pursue Corbin Dallas because he's part of his talk show, and so he gets kind of roped on this quest, and in a way, like, and some of his reactions are kind of priceless. The first thing that stands out while watching the film is, like, the intercutting sequences during lines of dialogue. And so it appears like two separate conversations are fused into one, and as the genius of Luc Besson's camp original and pretty near perfect space opera. And this is a film where Bruce Willis really looked like he was having the time of his life playing the role of Dallas. He breathes life into the film. It's definitely Willis at the top of his game. It shows he wasn't just an action movie star. He was also a very fantastic actor in this film, and it makes the film stand above a lot of stuff like released in 1997. Like 1997 was kind of one of the not so good years for movies of the 90s decade, because a lot of times there were some sequels that did not do well, like Batman and Robin. And as much as I'm one of the few people that like The Lost World, almost everybody else did not. So that was kind of a time when like iconic stuff or iconic genres were kind of starting to get rusty and just starting to get old, or just starting to get not as enjoyable anymore to some people. But that's the thing. This was one of the few good films to come out of that year. Right there. Just try imagine anyone else in the role of Corbin Dallas, and it would be impossible. And the film, you expect this film to take itself seriously? It doesn't. The subject matter is pretty serious and quite romantic, but the rest of the film, knows it's kind of a little campy and would seem kind of a little weird for a plot, but it's proud it's kind of weird as a way. It's kind of self-aware. It's like a Red Bull of a pop music video, and the viewings really offer something new and fresh each time. The movie is just great fun. It's got the sets and visuals with some good acting for Gary Oldman and Ian Holm. There's great minor details like the cigarettes and taxi cabs, and the opera scene is jaw-dropping. It was definitely jaw-dropping when I first watched the film back in 2010 or something, around late 2010, truly unique. The film is definitely kind of a true art film with elements of goofiness. It blends into the skies of modern sci-fi, it's pale, deeply emotional, has constantly character designs of creative freedom far beyond, and what would ever really be all that necessary as well. It's just wild ride from start to finish. So, now we get on with the finale of the movie. So, the great evil is approaching Earth, and so the four characters meet David at the temple, and so they deploy the stones, but Lilo is starting to give up on life because she's learned of humanity's history of cruelty, but Dallas at that time declares his love for her and that they'll go on a real vacation, and then kisses her, and so Lilo combines the power of the stones, and amidst divine light, the great evil, and defeats the great evil. So after that, Earth is saved. Dallas and Lilo get hailed as heroes. A dignitary is waiting to greet them, but one of them has seen them still in the reactor, recovering from the whole events, sees that they're embracing, and he literally tells the captain they're not ready yet. And so, yeah, because they're making love in there, and the last shot you see is the two passionately making love in the recovery chamber. And so, that's ironically where our movie ends. That's the end of The Fifth Element. Dallas and Lilo become a couple. Oh, and I almost forgot, they get a hold of Dallas's phone, and his mom is still calling him, mad that he's still ignoring her calls, but the two get honored as heroes for their actions. The day is saved, and they fall in love and become a couple. That's pretty much where it all wraps up beautifully right there. That being said, would I have any bad qualities with the film? I mean, I didn't mind. Now, one bad quality I can say, I didn't mind Chris Tucker's character, but there were some times I kind of wish his comedy would kind of be turned off, during the whole finale sequence. That's what I kind of do wish, and I do wish Bruce Willis and Mila Jovovich's characters, they had a few more scenes together, kind of build up on their chemistry a little more. So that way the romance would kind of end up feeling a little more believable, because that's the thing. Their romance didn't come off as too well developed because there's not a lot of scenes of them together. A lot of the scenes she's with Ian Holm's character, and doesn't really meet up, and after the cab scene, she doesn't really meet up with Willis again until the whole mission recruitment happens. So I wish they kind of had a little. So, I kind of wish maybe there were a little more scenes of them together, so that way we could kind of develop their romance a little more, and it would kind of feel more believable that way. That's just me, though. Other than those, I adore The Fifth Element, and it's definitely a film I so recommend you give a watch. So in the end, The Fifth Element is totally worth a watch and buy for your movie collection for sure, no doubt, if you want to see another Luc Besson masterpiece, and a pretty iconically campy, self-aware sci-fi film from the 90s. Anyways, that's it for my view of The Fifth Element, and if we're going to rank The Fifth Element, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you want to see an underrated sci-fi gem and another one of Luc Besson's best works, I would totally watch it by The Fifth Element for your collection for sure, no doubt. And if we're going to rank The Fifth Element, I'm going to give The Fifth Element a 9 out of 10. Alright, there we go, guys. That wraps up my review for The Fifth Element. Now I want to know in the comments down below what you guys think about The Fifth Element, whether you really love this movie or whether you just were not too big of a fan of this movie. And until then, guys, that will be it for this review. Thank you all for watching. And if you like this and want to see more, and don't forget to like this great at Don G. Corleone.